Welcome to our 5 on 5. Please be joined today by Lynn Kuntsman. We're talking about, she's a master gardener, and we're talking about monarch butterflies today.
That's right.
Good to see you.
Really nice. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So these, I guess, have shown signs of decline in recent years, monarchs, and we're going to bring a couple out here in a minute. But you're working to keep the species alive here in Southern Oregon. What exactly are you doing?
So I'm working as a volunteer with a study that's going on. It's Dr. David James at Washington State University has been running a tagging program since 2012 for the western monarchs, which is a distinct population from the monarchs on the east of the Rockies that fly to Mexico each year. Our western population stays in the U.S. Ours fly to Central California to overwinter. So he's trying to gather data on the migration patterns of our western, from British Columbia down to California and over to western Idaho, that population.
Okay, now has data on those monarchs already been collected?
It has, and then there's been a study published. He published in 2016 after a 5-year study in the Journal of Lepidopterus. It's a scientific journal. So there is data that's been collected, and the population is in pretty severe decline. It's down to about 10% of historic levels.
Wow.
Yeah, so very, very. It's kind of in a critical situation at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Now, are you breeding them, or are you just protecting the ones you come in contact with?
Yeah, no. In fact, breeding is very problematic because breeding in captivity produces some issues with disease and a protozoan that is a pretty dangerous thing for the monarchs. So we capture in the wild, or we watch for wild females to come through the milkweed patches, and we collect the eggs and bring them right inside where they can't be affected by pesticide drift, parasitism, predation. Wasps and yellow jackets will eat them. Spiders will eat them. So we bring them in, keep them safe, and rear them up, because out in the wild, the survival rate is somewhere between 5 and 10%.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so they're very at risk out there.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick little break, and then we're going to bring a couple of them out.
All
Stay with
right.
us. We'll be right back.
Thanks.
Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with Master Gardener Lynn Kuntsman. We're talking about monarch butterflies and the work she's doing with them. And so you've got a little lady right here.
She's unhappy.
You've been tagging them. So
I have.
Explain why you're doing that.
Yeah, so this is the small tag that has a Washington State University email address on it and a number. So this particular butterfly will be E5864. And we just place this tag right on that large discal cell and then press for 3 seconds. And she is ready to be released. I'm not going to release her in the studio,
Probably
obviously.
not the best idea.
And then if somebody sees this butterfly out in the wild or in their garden, they're going to take a picture with their cell phone, and they will send that to the university address that's on there.
Wow.
And she becomes part of the study, and she will be in the next published study. And that allows us to know where she travels. She can go 600, 800 miles on her migration.
Yeah.
She can do about 20 miles a day. And she'll overwinter on the central coast of California.
Okay, fascinating.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what do you think we can do here in Southern Oregon and Northern California to help the monarchs?
Right.
Because you talked about the critical shortage?
Critical shortage, yeah. They're actually being considered for the endangered species list. So what we would like citizens to do is 2 things in particular. Plant milkweed, which is the only food that these animals can eat, the caterpillars can eat. They cannot eat anything else. And milkweed has been stripped from the environment in a lot of ways, with agriculture and all this. And stop the use of herbicides and pesticides, because the caterpillars obviously will succumb to the pesticides, and the milkweed succumbs to the herbicides, and it drifts and affects those things. So if you can plant milkweed in an unsprayed area, that is the most important thing you can do to help the monarch population here in the Northwest.
And I'm trying to remember which day you released. How many did you release last week?
Oh, there were 23 one day, and 2 days later I did 16. I think when your reporter came out, we released 16.
Okay.
So I've reared about 80 from my own home garden, and I live in a 1/4 acre suburban plot in East Medford, and my yard is a pollinator garden. So we do not use sprays there. And so we have pollinators and butterflies coming through, and I grow a lot of milkweed so that I can rear these individuals.
Okay, and what do you think, is there anything people can do? I mean, you talked about all the milkweed and herbicides and pesticides. What's a good place for them to learn more about monarchs?
Oh, I would go online and look at Southern Oregon Monarch Advocates. Google them. They're a wonderful organization that's working very, very hard. They've done like 95 workshops, and they're planning 4 or 5 more this year. They've done 95 in like the last 4 years all around the valley. They're also involved in creating monarch way stations. They just installed one out at the Stewart Golf Course, and they have one down at Coyote Trails Natural Center on the Greenway. So they're very, very involved in getting milkweed to people, helping people grow milkweed, helping people set up monarch way stations, places where the butterflies can come and lay their eggs.
Well, they're certainly beautiful. Thank you so much for coming by and showing us
Thank you so
what you're
much
doing.
for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
All
Yeah,
right.
thanks.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.